After delaying Brexit for the third time, will the United Kingdom finally leave the European Union on the 31st of January 2020? Well, the answer to that question will be decided after the general elections on the 12th of December 2019. The UK Parliament has officially been dissolved, paving the way for the general elections. The dissolution means both the House of Commons and the House of Lords will end their sessions. Before the formal announcement of the December 12th election, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has paid a formal visit to Queen Elizabeth. Johnson kicked off his election campaign, vowing to get Brexit done. He even compared his rivals to Soviet leader Stalin, who sent millions to their deaths in labour camps. However, Johnson's election campaign launch got off to a poor start after the distribution of a doctored video clip of Labour's Brexit spokesman, Keir Starmer. The video has edited out key response of Starmer in an interview to give the impression that the Labour Party has no answer for Brexit. While Johnson is keen to frame the vote as a means to resolve Brexit, domestic issues such as the future of the much-cherished state-run National Health Service, or NHS, will also be key. The new House of Commons will be elected on the 12th of December, while the Lords will retain their positions. Under normal circumstances, a new Speaker of the House is also elected along with the House of Commons. But this year, it's going to be different, as Lindsay Hoyle was elected earlier this month to replace John Bercow following his resignation in September. Johnson is hoping to win a big enough majority in the Parliament to get Brexit deal agreed with Brussels. Ahead of the election, the former Chancellor, Philip Hammond, has said that he would not stand as an independent candidate, as that would be a direct challenge to the party he loved. Hammond was thrown out of the Conservative Party after defying Boris Johnson over a no-deal Brexit. As a result, he cannot stand as a Tory candidate in Runnymede and Weybridge, which he has represented since 1997. Hammond was among the 21 Tory MPs who had the party whip removed in September for backing the legislation designed to stop the UK leaving the European Union without a deal, the so-called Ben Act. Under the 2011 Fixed-Term Parliaments Act, the UK Parliament must be re-elected every 5 years. This means that the next general election was supposed to take place in the year 2022. But last month, the House of Commons voted for an early election. Britain had been due to leave the European Union in March, but has had to be extending that deadline 3 times. This after the Parliament rejected a deal negotiated by Johnson's predecessor, Theresa May, twice, and then forced Johnson himself to ask for more time. On a lighter note, a Brexit roller coaster featuring an effigy of Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg was paraded through the streets as part of bonfire festivities in Lewes in England. This year marks the 2nd time in a row that Johnson has been featured among the effigies. This year's roller coaster creation is complete with broken rails and signposts pointing separately to deal, no deal and ditch. And we have our correspondent Ollie Barrett joining us live from London here on WION Dispatch. Let's get him in, but before that, let's quickly listen in to what Boris Johnson is speaking.
Our MPs are just using time and again to deliver Brexit and honour the mandate of the people. I can tell you, I've got to the stage where I've been wanting to chew my own pie in frustration, because in a sense, we're so nearly there. We've got a deal, oven ready, by which we can leave the EU in just a few weeks. It's a great deal for this country. It delivers everything that I wanted when I campaigned for Brexit. We can not only take back control of our money, and yes, we'll be able to spend hundreds of millions every week on our priorities, such as the NHS. We can take back control of our borders with an Australian-style points-based system so that we can attract the workers, from scientists to agricultural workers, that our economy actually needs. And we can take back control of our laws so that we can do things differently and better if we choose, from free ports to free trade deals, from banning the cruel live shipment of animals to cutting VAT on sanitary products. And we can leave the EU as one UK, whole and entire and perfect as we promised. And so it's been frankly mind-boggling in the last few weeks to see how Parliament first voted to approve this deal and then voted for delay. And I'm afraid that it is clear that if Parliament had its way, then this country would not be leaving even on January the 31st. And that, of course, is bad for democracy. It's disastrous for trust in politics. Why should MPs decide that they can cancel the result of a referendum? I'm afraid I also think that this delay is now bad for the country and for the economy. And with every week that goes by, uncertainty is deterring people from hiring new staff, from buying new homes, from making new investments. And if we can get this deal over the line with a sensible majority government, we certainly can, then we can release that pent-up flood of investment. Hundreds of billions are waiting to pour into the UK, and we can inject a surge of confidence into our system. And we in this government can get on with delivering on the priorities of the people. And I'm very proud of what we've done in the last 108 days, or whatever it is, 108 days or so, the biggest programme of NHS investment for a generation, lifting up funding of schools across the country, 40 new hospitals, by the way, lifting up funding of schools across the country, putting 20,000 more police on the streets, an infrastructure revolution we're planning in rail and road, from electric buses to new green cycle schemes, gigabit broadband in every home. And we have the confidence as One Nation Conservatives to make those investments, not despite our belief in a strong private sector, but precisely because we champion this enterprise economy in the UK. And when people get up at 5 a.m. to get their businesses ready, when they risk their own money or mortgage their own homes to develop a new product or a new venture, when they have the guts to find a new market at home or abroad, we don't sneer at them, we cheer for them and do what we can to help, because we understand that it's only by having a dynamic free market economy that we can deliver on our programme of uniting this country.
The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, making his pitch as elections are announced and the official process begins with both the House of Commons and the House of Lords being dissolved. Oli Bharat, our correspondent, now joins us live from London. Oli, good to have you here on the show. Talk to us. Now we can discuss this. What is it looking like? There's been a poor start to Boris Johnson's campaign. Meanwhile, Corbyn is going all steam ahead, and Nigel Farage from the Brexit party too has begun his campaign officially.
Certainly, the election campaign is officially only just underway, but it has effectively been running for several days since the Parliament here in the UK agreed that there could be that election on December the 12th. But even before that, we knew that Boris Johnson was effectively running an election campaign from number 10 Downing Street. Over the last 24 hours or so, things have not gone particularly well for Boris Johnson. There's been a row about one of the social media campaigns that his party has been running. We've seen a cabinet minister having to resign over allegations surrounding a rape case with links to one of his aides. We've seen two Conservative MPs forced to apologise about comments they made about the Grenfell Tower disaster. So with this speech that Boris Johnson's making on the steps of Downing Street, he is trying to regain some momentum, regain some control about the conversation around the Conservative Party's election campaign. He will insist that his party is the one that can deliver Brexit quickly. He's criticising the opposition Labour Party for what he says would be the dither and delay if Labour take power. Certainly Jeremy Corbyn, the opposition Labour leader, is considered to have had a better last 48 hours or so. His party's message has been hammering the Conservatives when it comes to the National Health Service, insisting that Boris Johnson's Brexit will lead to a trade deal with the United States which will harm the NHS and will harm workers' rights and environmental protections and so forth here in Britain. So as I say, I think Boris Johnson now knows he has a little bit of catching up to do when it comes to the last 48 hours or so. At the same time, his party is significantly ahead in the polls of Labour's, and certainly he is also ahead in the polls when it comes to individual ratings compared to the Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn.
Oli Barat joining us with a live update from London. And Oli also talked to us in terms of what's going to happen from here on. For now, both the House of Commons and the House of Lords have been dissolved in the UK Parliament. What do you see are the highlights from here on up until the 12th of December?
Well, certainly the next 5 weeks we'll see the major party leaders and the minor party leaders as well crisscrossing the country, trying to win votes, campaign events on large scale but also on small scale as well, trying to get to individual voters in individual constituencies. In terms of particular moments to watch out for, we know that there are going to be some televised debates which could well be very interesting indeed. November the 19th, Boris Johnson will go up against Jeremy Corbyn head-to-head at this stage, although Jo Swinson, the leader of the Liberal Democrats Party, is insisting that she should be included as well. We know that there is another proposed debate a couple of weeks after that in which Jo Swinson, Jeremy Corbyn and Boris Johnson have all been invited to attend. Jo Swinson says she'll be there and is challenging her male rivals to take part as well. So that conversation becomes a key part of the election campaign now. How many televised debate events will there be and which leaders will be involved in them? They present the opportunity for some fascinating moments in this campaign. Boris Johnson does want to make it about him versus Jeremy Corbyn. At the same time, Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader, is considered to be a decent campaigner, and he may well fire up his own troops over the coming weeks in a way that makes life very difficult indeed for the Prime Minister.
Oli Barat, our correspondent, joining us with that live report straight from London. Thank you, Oli, for being with us here on WION Dispatch.